Bernie Sanders goes big again. You know, Bernie has been pitching his idea, his expansion of Social Security for some time now. In fact, it's called the Social Security Expansion Act. It is, you know, he's proposed this. It's a bill that's before the Senate. Republicans, of course, are blocking it because what it would do is it would increase Social Security benefits by $2,400 a year for everybody, and which just barely, you know, keeps up with inflation. I mean, before Reagan came into office and reformed Social Security in 1983 or 6, I think maybe it was 86. Before that happened, you could actually retire and live on Social Security. You lived very humbly, but I knew people. I had a friend, Bob Strand, back in Lansing, who had owned a little ad agency, and he retired. He had virtually no savings, and he was living in a little house. He had moved out to Williamson. It was, you know, cheaper living in a little rural town, but he bought a little house, and, you know, he lived the rest of his life out there on Social Security. You could do that. I mean, this was back in the 70s. And, you know, Bob is long gone now. He was a good guy. He's one of my advertising mentors. But, you know, nowadays you can't. I mean, you know, you just can't live on Social Security any longer. So, number one, he wants to raise Social Security benefits by $2,400 a year, and he wants to fund the program for the next 75 years. And how does he do that? He simply says anybody making over $250,000 a year has to continue paying Social Security taxes on their income. Because right now, if you make over about $165,000, I think it is, it varies, it changes every year. I think it's $161,000 or $165,000 this year. If you make over that, or when you make over that, you cease paying Social Security taxes. You no longer pay into Social Security, which is, you know, great news for people who make $1 million a year, or $5 million a year, $50 million, or $100 million a year, like Bezos and Zuckerberg, $1 billion a year. But, you know, it screws all the rest of us. So anyhow, Bernie wants to take this a step beyond that. And he's introduced legislation called the Pensions for All Act. And what this bill does is it says, if you work for a company that does not provide a pension, we will give you a pension that is identical to that which is received by members of Congress, which is the basic federal pension. And he wants to fund the federal pension system with, you know, an increase in the tax on billionaires. So everybody can retire, you know, with some dignity. I think it's pretty cool. He notes that today more than 22% of seniors in the United States live in poverty, compared to that to 5.1% in Denmark, 5.8% in France, 12% in Germany, 14% in Canada, 22.8% in the United States of seniors, people over 65, live in poverty. And he says, we can no longer tolerate a rigged system that allows the CEOs of large corporations to receive massive golden parachutes for themselves while denying workers a pension after a lifetime of work. He says 50 years ago, nearly half of Americans, 50%, had a pension. You know, my dad had a pension. He worked in a tool and die shop as, you know, most of his working life. You know, and he lived on that pension and his Social Security. Anyhow, back to Bernie. He says 50 years ago, nearly half of American workers had a pension. Today, fewer than 10% do. And nearly half of older workers have no retirement savings at all. He said this isn't a flaw in the system. It's the system working exactly as the wealthy designed it. We've gone from being a country that promised Social Security and dignity in old age to being a country that forces people to work until they're in the grave. And by the way, the polling shows that the vast majority of Americans want Social Security benefits increased. They want the Social Security program strengthened. They do not want layoffs at Social Security like Donald Trump just did. He just laid off, what, 7,000, 8,000 people? And so now you can't even get through if you call. I mean, this is all part of their plan to privatize Social Security by making it so miserable that people will say, screw this. I'd rather, you know, have a program run by J.P. Morgan Chase. And it's the vast majority of Americans want Social Security strengthened. Republicans are blocking that because billionaires don't want to pay the damn Social Security taxes. The vast majority of Americans support pensions for everybody. And again, you know, Republicans would block that too. This is one of the reasons why we need to get Democrats back in power in all three branches so that we can put this country back together. Joe Biden had us on a pretty damn good road and had the best economy literally in the world. We had the best economy in the world. The Economist magazine cover story, envy of the world, economically speaking. And Trump has done the reverse. We still haven't hit the stock market highs that we hit under Biden. We're still below Biden. Unemployment has gone up since Biden left. Inflation is up.